Friends, we can all see that many white bloggers have millions of followers. Please support me too, because my followers are still few. Black bloggers also deserve to be famous. My friends, let's unite and lift each other up. Please press subscribe button and like. In the heart of Atlanta, a quiet evening turned chaotic as Officer Rick Halpern, a white cop, confronted Derek Lawson, a prominent African-American politician, accusing him of stealing his own car. The tension escalated quickly, with Derek remaining calm, focused on protecting his terrified wife Monica and their 2 children. But everything changed when a gold governor's pin slipped from Derek's jacket, revealing his true identity as the state's highest official. The night had started like any other. The Lawson family had just left a birthday party, laughter and the sweet scent of cake lingering in the air. Derek, a devoted father, had been enjoying a rare moment of normalcy, but that tranquility shattered when the patrol car appeared behind them, its lights flashing ominously as the SUV slowed to a stop. Derek's heart raced. He glanced at Monica, who was visibly anxious, and then at their children, who were blissfully unaware of the impending storm. The patrol car crept closer, and Derek felt the weight of the moment settle heavily on his shoulders. He had spent years in public service, advocating for justice and equality. Yet here he was facing a situation that threatened to unravel everything he had worked for. Halpern approached the vehicle with an aggressive demeanor, barking orders that echoed to the quiet street. "Shut up and step out now," he shouted, slapping his palm against the hood of the SUV. The children flinched, and Monica instinctively reached for Derek's hand, her grip tight with fear. Derek, maintaining his composure, lowered the window. "Officer, is there a reason for this stop?" he asked, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. Halpern's response was laced with contempt, demanding to see Derek's hands, and accusing him of being a fraud. The tension in the air was palpable, and the crowd that had begun to gather held its breath, witnessing the unfolding drama as Derek reached for his wallet. He felt the eyes of the onlookers on him, their gazes a mix of curiosity and concern. He knew he had to remain calm for his family's sake. But when Halpern slammed the wallet to the ground, the situation escalated further. Derek's dignity was stripped away in an instant as he was forced out of the vehicle, hands raised, the weight of the world pressing down on him. "Step out," Halpern ordered again, his voice dripping with authority. Derek complied, his heart pounding as he stepped onto the pavement, the cold night air biting at his skin. The crowd murmured, phones raised, capturing every moment. Derek's children cried out for their father, their innocent voices piercing through the tension. In that moment, Derek felt the humiliation wash over him, but he refused to let it consume him. He lifted his chin, meeting Halpern's gaze with a quiet strength. "You are abusing your power," he declared, his voice steady and resolute. The words hung in the air, a challenge that resonated with the crowd. Then, as if fate had intervened, the gold governor's pin slipped from Derek's jacket, clattering to the ground. The crowd gasped, recognition dawning on them. "That's Governor Lawson," someone shouted, and the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The weight of the moment transformed as the realization spread like wildfire. Halpern faltered, his bravado crumbling as he processed the implications of his actions. The crowd erupted, chanting Derek's name, their voices rising in solidarity. "Governor! Governor!" they called, the sound echoing through the streets, a powerful reminder of the truth that had been obscured. Derek, still cuffed and humiliated, felt a surge of strength from the crowd's support. He turned to Monica, who stood half in the SUV, her eyes wide with disbelief and fear. But now, there was a glimmer of hope in her gaze. The tide had turned, and Derek knew he had to seize this moment. As the chants grew louder, Halpern's demeanor shifted from aggression to desperation. He barked orders, trying to regain control, but the crowd was no longer afraid. They had witnessed the truth, and they were not going to back down. The cameras rolled, capturing every moment, every word, as the narrative shifted from one of oppression to one of resistance. In the days that followed, the incident became a national sensation. News outlets picked up the story, and social media exploded with outrage. Derek's name became synonymous with the fight for justice, and the hashtag Justice for Lawson trended across platforms. People from all walks of life rallied behind him, sharing their own stories of injustice and demanding accountability. Derek, now a symbol of resilience, embraced his role as a leader. He called for reforms within the police department, advocating for training that emphasized de-escalation and community engagement. His voice resonated with those who had felt marginalized, and he became a beacon of hope for many as the trial approached. The courtroom was packed with supporters, eager to witness the outcome of a case that had captured the nation's attention. Derek sat beside Monica, their hands intertwined, a silent promise of strength and unity. The prosecutor laid out the evidence, painting a picture of systemic abuse and racial profiling, while Halpern's defense crumbled under scrutiny. When the verdict was finally announced, the courtroom erupted in cheers. Halpern was found guilty of aggravated assault, and the weight of justice had finally been served. Derek and Monica embraced, tears of relief streaming down their faces as the crowd outside celebrated their victory. But as the celebrations began, a new challenge loomed on the horizon. Derek knew that this was just the beginning. The fight for justice extended beyond his personal experience. It was a call to action for everyone who had ever felt the sting of injustice. He stood before the crowd, ready to address them, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Thank you all for standing with us," he began, his voice steady. "This victory is not just for me. It's for every family who has faced discrimination, for every person who has been silenced. We must continue to fight for change, to ensure that no one else has to endure what we have." The crowd erupted in applause, their energy palpable. Derek felt the weight of their support, a collective force that fueled his determination. He knew that the road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but he was ready to lead the charge. As he looked out at the sea of faces, he saw hope, resilience, and a shared commitment to justice. The moment felt electric, charged with possibility. But just as he was about to delve deeper into his vision for reform, a commotion erupted at the back of the crowd. A figure emerged, pushing through the throng, and Derek's heart sank as he recognized the familiar face of Officer Halpern, flanked by a group of supporters. The tension in the air thickened as Halpern shouted, "This isn't over. You think you can just walk away from this?" Derek's breath caught in his throat. The confrontation he had hoped to avoid was now unfolding before him, and he felt the weight of the moment shift once again. The crowd fell silent, eyes darting between Derek and Halpern, the atmosphere charged with anticipation. Derek took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. This was the moment that would define not just his journey, but the future of justice in their community. Would he stand firm in the face of this challenge, or would fear take hold once more? He stepped forward, ready to confront Halpern, the weight of justice heavy on his shoulders, knowing that the outcome of this encounter could change everything. "Rick," Derek began, his voice steady but firm, "you need to understand that this isn't just about you or me. This is about the countless lives affected by the abuse of power. You have a choice to make right now." Halpern's face twisted in anger, but Derek could see the uncertainty flickering in his eyes. The crowd watched breathless as the tension between the two men crackled like electricity in the air. "You think you can intimidate me?" Halpern spat, his bravado faltering. "You think this is over just because you have a crowd behind you?" Derek held his ground, his heart pounding. "This is about accountability. You can either continue down this path of hatred and division, or you can choose to be part of the solution. The world is watching." The crowd began to murmur, their voices rising in support of Derek. "We stand with you," someone shouted, and the chant began to swell again, echoing through the streets. "Justice for Lawson! Justice for Lawson!" Halpern's expression shifted, the anger giving way to something else. Fear, perhaps. He glanced around at the crowd, realizing that he was no longer in control of the narrative. The tide had turned, and he was standing on the wrong side of history. Derek seized a moment, his voice rising above the din. "This is our chance to change the narrative, to show that we will not be silenced. We will not allow fear to dictate our lives any longer." The crowd erupted in cheers, their energy palpable, and Derek felt a surge of hope. This was the moment he'd been waiting for, the moment that could spark real change. But just as he was about to continue, Halpern took a step back, his eyes darting around as if searching for an escape. "You think this is over?" Halpern shouted, his voice trembling. You have no idea what you're up against. Derek's heart raced as he realized that Halpern was about to make a desperate move. The crowd sensed it too, their excitement turned into apprehension. "Rick, don't do this," Derek warned, his voice steady but urgent. "You have the power to change. You can choose to be better." But Halpern's face hardened, and in that moment, Derek knew that the confrontation was far from over. The stakes had never been higher, and the outcome of this encounter could change everything for their community. As the crowd held its breath, Derek prepared for whatever was about to unfold, knowing that the fight for justice was just beginning. The air was thick with tension, and the world seemed to pause, waiting for the next move in this high-stakes game of power and accountability. And just as the moment reached its peak, the scene froze, leaving everyone on the edge of their seats, anticipating what would happen next. Do you want to know the fate of the heroes? Please post part 2. Subscribe to the channel and continue watching. Your opinion and support are important to me. Leave it in the comments. Thank you.